And we're live. We're here. Welcome to the AVG Fantasy Football Podcast. It's your boy T here. I'm here with the Messiah, a.k.a. Andre Navarro.
What up?
We got Anthony over here. Tony Tones. What are we allowed to call you?
Yeah,
Just
dude.
Anthony.
Come on.
Just Anthony. He
Idiot-
said it was such a
idiot
big
fart
fart.
head.
And
Give me
Mr. 645 sometimes.
Mr. 645.
But I didn't wake up at 6:45 today, so you can't call me that.
Yeah. So
Is it
Anthony.
what- are you like Mr. 930 today or what?
Yeah, it was like Mr. 945.
Okay,
And we
sick.
got Mr. Mike,
Yeah, that's me, baby.
Mr. Miyagi.
What up?
That's behind the fucking ones and twos.
The man's behind the ones and twos. The guy who makes this all happen. Let's give some
Mike.
appreciation for Mike right here.
For
I
real.
wish I had an applause drop.
Yeah,
That would
there
have
you
been
go,
tight.
there you go.
Oh, there, golf clap. Dude, my buddy hit an eagle golfing the other day, and I was
Like an actual eagle?
yeah.
Like out of the air?
No.
Dude,
no.
I'm just
no.
kidding.
That's
that's
what I was
impressive.
thinking.
But we all clapped. And
That's impressive.
We all clapped, and we're like, yeah. And then I was like, oh, guys, this is like an actual golf clap. Like, I've never done like everybody makes a joke like golf clap, but we were at it was
Eagle's
like a real-
big time, bro.
Anyways.
2 strokes under, right?
Yeah, par 5. That means you put it on in 2 and then put it in. That's fucking
Yeah, it was nuts.
yeah, that's nuts.
Okay, but yeah, continue, Tyler. Sorry,
Type.
I had to derail the
For
podcast
sure.
real quick.
Maybe we'll talk about an eagle in this episode.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe he might hit.
Good.
So in this episode right here, we're just gonna go over some early man crushes we have. It is Monday, so we're gonna do a little man crush Monday for some of these players that we kind of like going into the 2020 NFL season. It looks like the season's gonna start on time. Like I think they released the dates for all the preseason games and stuff like that. So it's on schedule to be, everything, a-okay. So hopefully it just stays on course for that right there. You guys want to talk about some news real quick before we jump into it? Because we got some beef.
Dude, we got some
let's-
fighting words.
yeah.
We got
do it.
some not Instagram beef.
Truly, that's where it goes down these days. It's 2020. Beef goes down in the comments.
Yeah. So if you didn't know, Davante Parker and Michael Thomas been beefing
Beef.
on IG. So what it started was there was a post. I don't know if NFL on Fox was the first one to post it or whatever, but it was what's harder to do, catch a pass on Stephon Gilmore or stop Michael Thomas from catching a pass? And Davante Parker was like A, so he voted catching a pass from Stephon Gilmore, and then that's when it all started.
That's when it started.
Because Davante Parker balled.
Well, it's just
against
Michael
Stephon
Thomas.
Gilmore.
Yeah.
He
That-
raped him.
It's like
17.
any other year, Devontae Parker probably couldn't write that.
Yeah. Well, like
Sure.
basically, like Michael Thomas took offense to it.
Yeah.
He was like, are you putting that up, or you want me just to read some of the quotes from the thing?
You
I'm
got
gonna
it?
put it in post, so you just do.
Just
you
read some of
and
it
I'll
up?
have yeah.
Yeah. So what happens? Michael Thomas is like, for you, go run some numbers up. Then you can talk. I lapped you, and you've been in the league longer than me, first rounder. So that's what it was. That was his response back to A. So he just kind of basically started going. And then Davante Parker was like, got some hard feelings there, brother. Let me get targeted 300 times a game. So it was, I was reading this and I was like, wait, is this the real Davante Parker and fucking Michael Thomas
Not like
Are
going at
burgers.
those blue check marks real or
it?
what?
Verified. And they were just going basically back and forth, and they were just, he's like, in other words, you weak. They don't even put your name in the same sense as me. Remember that. You're still not going to do nothing. It took you 6 years and 17 weeks to have a good game. Get the fuck out of here. Blame your parents, not no QB. And then Davante Parker was like, quit crying, bro. He's like, you heard what I said? He's like, I didn't hear shit, playboy. You can't even get a seat at the table. And then there's probably some more, but that's kind of just them
As of
beefing right
right
there.
now.
So it's
Damn,
kind
I
of.
didn't even know it was that much. I just seen the first couple that you guys sent me. That's funny.
I mean, that is crazy to see because
Yeah.
NFL has like Mike Thomas is like, I mean, I'm sure he is like super good guy, like spends like times in the hospital and then you just hear him just frying it. It's great. Just to see the human side
Yeah.
of
Of like
these guys.
NFL players.
yeah.
It is weird to see Davante Parker say that he thinks it's harder to catch a pass on Stephon Gilmore when week 17, which was a clutch game for the Patriots.
Yeah.
They needed a win at home against the Dolphins to lock up home field advantage. And Davante Parker went out. I think he had like 7 catches on 11 targets, like 100 and something yards. I can't remember if he had a touchdown or not, but a couple really big plays. He pretty much just raped Stephon Gilmore, who eventually won the Defensive Player of the Year award. So it's like I can't remember a performance of a player. I mean, like thinking like Revis, kind of like that like last kind of like real lockdown corner. I can't remember like a game of like where someone like embarrassed Revis like that.
Ted Ginn.
Take again.
He
Probably,
he
Randy
burnt him
Moss that
twice.
one time.
And like
Remember?
fucking Randy Moss too.
Randy Moss.
Well, I mean, that's right. That's like a historic season. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that was his way of also being like, I'm good. Like he was saying that to make himself look good because damn well he knew
Yeah.
that he fried.
Free fried Stephon Gilmore.
So he's like, that's harder to do, but I did it. So, Shut up, Michael. But, I mean,
It's like I've been reading like just like some random like just reports of people writing and all that stuff, and it seems like most people are just like bagging on Michael Thomas for just kind of like getting butthurt.
Yeah.
for sure.
And then you got everyone saying like, oh, fuck, like all you can do is run slants. I mean, he can do more than run slants, but it's funny. Just like the average person is just sitting there just like talking, like no one's really talking shit to Parker. Like some people are, but it's more like they're talking shit to like the guy who just broke the record for receptions in a season. Like all you can do is run slants, and you got a Hall of Fame quarterback, you little bitch. I mean, like, it's kind of like I'm like Jesus.
Yeah, it's like, bro, chill. Like, and I don't know. He's a lot more accomplished. He could have just easily been like, and just kicked it.
I know, right?
But he just wanted to. Hey, you know what? It's quarantine. He ain't got nothing better to do. So
Yeah,
he's like in his feelings.
That's funny right there. All right, you guys want to jump into these? You guys any other news? You guys want to touch on? Carlos Hyde still not signed.
Carlos Hyde still not signed.
Stay away, you.
Stay away.
Hide.
Son of a
Keep
bitch.
hiding.
Yeah, hide until I don't know.
Keep hiding.
Till you're 40, and then pop back out. Dude, I don't know. Yeah, hope he'll find a job though.
Yeah, he'll get
Speaking
landed
of
somewhere.
who lands a job first? Is Lamar Miller still on the Texans, or is he a free agent?
He's a free agent.
All right, so who lands first? Him, Davante Freeman, or whoever the hell we just said? Because I already forgot.
Probably Davante Freeman.
Hide.
Hyde.
He said. Oh, you said. I
Yeah,
think
Hyde, Freeman, or Lamar Miller.
I'm gonna go Freeman.
Yeah, Davante Freeman.
I could just see Hyde. I don't know. I could just see Hyde going first. Just
He
'Cause he had a
must not
career-
be
he had a
that
career
good
year.
because no one wants to keep him. Why wouldn't he want to keep him?
so I went back to look because he got drafted by the Niners, and we pretty good stock as far as like where we took him. And his best year, I mean, yeah, his yards per carry were no good.
Yeah.
He's like under 4. He's like 3.8. I was like, and I remember, and I thought he was like effective. He had like 10 tugs though.
Yeah. We had a ton of receptions that year.
Yeah, so that's what it was with him. But yeah, his yards per carry was never that great. You
Yeah.
know, so he was one of those guys. But I mean, he ran for 1,000 this year with the Texans. I mean,
Is he just a ball carrier, Carlos Hyde?
he's getting there.
Is he getting there?
He caught like what 60 balls one year,
Yeah, that was with
but
the
it was
Niners.
like ugly 60 balls. So it was like he caught him, but there weren't much done with them.
Yeah, exactly. So
It was almost like Leonard Fournette-esque.
or how you would say like even Melvin Gordon sometimes they just volume, and then get you a tug. But I mean, he did good. I was surprised that he did as good as he actually did with the Texans, but he better not go to the Eagles.
Yeah, there's a little. It's not big news, but this is something I'm kind of noting. It's Frank Reich.
Frank
Reich. How he said it wouldn't surprise him if there's a game where Naheem Hines has 10 catches. This isn't necessarily. I think you should go and draft Naheem Hines. This is more. It's taking that ceiling off away from They're already saying it's going to be a 1A 1B with Jonathan Taylor. I think Jonathan Taylor takes the job sooner than later, but. To that point, if they see him as a guy who's going to potentially get 10 catches in a game, it's kind of making me take that receiving role and not giving too much to Jonathan Taylor. So it's something to note when I'm like kind of statting him out and looking at him. It is going to kind of make me a little bit more what's the opposite of
Like weary of
pessimistic
taking,
about giving him a receiving ceiling. So that's something that I kind of noted. It's not like a big like Naheem Hines things. It's more of a Jonathan Taylor, like, all right, like how much passing volume can I consider him for?
Yeah. Wasn't a really big receiving back at Wisconsin.
In Wisconsin either, yeah.
Oh shit! You beat me. I had it right there. No, right underneath it. That I thought it was interesting. Phillip Rivers. They're saying that he can play more than 1 year, which I think I don't know which one I was telling, but how he already committed to be like the high school coach in Alabama. So it's like, how long are you gonna play if they're like waiting for you? You figure he plays 2 years. That means they wait 3 years. So
Yeah. Why Alabama in high school?
I think that's where he's. I think that's where he
That's
lives
where
with
he's-
his
With
15
his
kids.
15 kids, they're already ready for high school.
Jesus.
He's probably
All
gonna.
right, I got 2 quarterbacks coming in receiver.
I know.
He's probably like that's
He's got
probably what
the
he's
whole
gonna do.
football team.
He's gonna wait 2 years back. All right, Bucky and little Phillip Jr. They're gonna be the quarterback receiver.
Yeah. Mike, you got some news, don't you?
Oh yeah,
Yeah. don't you?
What?
come on.
Someone with a little haircut, maybe a little beard.
And who's he throwing
Oh,
to?
Big Ben, dude.
Who's he throwing to,
Big
bro?
Ben, Big Ben dropped the ultimate video. He said,
The ultimate video.
I mean, for him, that
No, that's true.
do you
He
know what
doesn't
his
post.
do you know what his Twitter fucking username is? It's bigben7.com is his Twitter name.
So how old is that fool? Dude?
Exactly.
Does he not know
He doesn't know. He doesn't use social media. So I'm just saying the fact that
.com.
he came out with like any type of video that was like somewhat well done is like incredible for him. You know what I mean? It's more incredible than winning 2 Super Bowls. But okay, so
Did he?
yeah, something like that. All right. Let's do.
Did it get your juices flowing when you saw that video?
But yeah, it was pretty sweet. Yeah, Big Ben fucking came out with this video, and it was basically saying he said after getting his surgery, he's not going to shave his beard or cut his hair until he can throw basically like an NFL pass. And then it just like cut to him throwing passes to Juju and like Ryan Switzer and James Conner. And then it, what?
Deontay Johnson?
No, it
mine.
wasn't. I mean, he wasn't in the
It
video.
was in the video.
Oh, Brian Switzer was in the video?
Ryan Switzer, yeah.
Oh, shit.
He's like a special teams guy.
No, he's... What?
But yeah. I'm just saying, he looked good. I don't know. And then it went to him cutting his hair.
It's good news if you're someone who's on the side of, you like the Steelers and you like Big Ben this year and Juju. It's good to see him throwing the ball. I mean, I don't even want to get into the elbow with Tommy John. It's good to see that early though.
For sure, yeah.
If you're a believer in Juju and Big Ben, to see him in middle of May, saying he can, in his eyes, put a professional like throw together. So, like I said, the whole elbow, it's a different story, but it's good to see. If you're on the optimistic side, it's a good thing to see early. It's better than seeing it in like July. He just starts doing it in May. It's like that's.
So you think by the time he gets like training camp, he should be good to go?
Yeah, it's showing. It gives
so.
you a lot more hope for week one. He's healthy and ready to go.
Yeah.
sure.
So and then I keep seeing all these fucking posts about Big Ben, dude, and I just feel like everybody's kind of stealing my thunder because I just dropped.
Stealing?
Stealing my thunder, dude.
Got you. He looks like he lost some weight too, though. Like,
Yeah,
he looks.
well, everybody
pretty
was
fit.
saying he was fat, and it's like, no, he had a fucking monster beard. He had like a beard that was like some type
Like a
of
Paul
Viking shit,
Bunyan
dude.
lumberjack beard.
Yeah.
I feel like the beard does kind of make because even Ryan Fitzpatrick will look kind of fat because it's like the chest pads like stick out
Yeah.
and
Well,
the beard like sits on
well,
there.
Yeah,
so
it just
looks
doesn't
like,
help you.
It looks like you're like no neck. And you're like,
Well, and it doesn't
sure.
help
It
because
doesn't help.
Ben wears those like rib cage pads, so it makes him even look fatter. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
because he's like had rib
So he's
injuries
got
and shit. So he looks hella like he does look fucking hella fat, but yeah, I don't know. He does kind of have like an alcoholic's body. I'm not gonna lie though.
Well, it takes a lot of years of drinking to build that body.
But anyway, so that was kind of cool. That's I guess not so much news, but just like hype, I guess,
Yeah.
But,
But that's all we got. The offseason's sometimes slow, especially at this point after the draft. It's like you got this, I feel like May, June, with no actual people reporting to camp. Not much we can do right now.
Yeah.
But we're still doing it.
We're
Doing
still
it well.
reporting, dude. Here with the news, and that was the news.
What about did we talk about the dudes who got locked, new shutdown corners?
Oh, the Dunbar
The
and
new lockdown corners?
DeAndre Baker, DeAndre Baker from the Giants, Lance Dunbar, former Redskin. He got traded to the Seahawks.
Yeah. Was it armed robbery?
Armed robbery
Oh,
at a
yeah.
barbecue or like a cookout.
Oh,
Jesus
dude,
Christ.
wait. Oh,
The
you know,
richer.
you know who else just got into trouble? Apparently, is that dude that I always talk about that tipped me, Cody Latimer.
Oh, dude, I was just.
He
He's
got
crying.
arrested on Saturday.
He's crying.
Yeah, there's a picture of him crying.
Yeah. When he was at Marquee, his brother was running around just like, my brother's in the NFL. He kept like just telling people that.
Dude, it's like, and this is kind of derailing for a second, but it's like, dude, you're an NFL player. Like, what the fuck are you doing with armed robbery? Like,
All these
don't-
guys.
I don't.
Ed Oliver for the Bills just got fucking in trouble too.
You got Greg Robinson from the Browns, the left tackle. He got caught with 100 pounds of weed at the border.
How much weed do you need to smoke?
Like, what are you selling?
know,
Like,
I don't
it's
know,
like,
dude.
it's like, bro, you have potential. Like, you're making at least league minimum. What is it, like 650,000, 575, something like that. I think it went up to 740
If
this
you're
year.
actually like playing, yeah.
Yeah, and you're doing this type of shit. It's like, bro, like sometimes it's just like,
But why are
Shake
you?
your head.
And he's robbing. Oh yeah, Ed Oliver got a DWI and gun charges. Like, why are you driving drunk with a gun anyway? Right now, where are you going? And it's in Buffalo or wherever the fuck. I mean, he's from the South, but still, it's like these guys make a lot of money, especially DeAndre Baker. He was in the first round.
Yeah.
Why are you robbing people?
yeah, I know. They robbed
He
like
just
50
making a point or something. I don't even know. Like,
It just.
You
It's crazy.
can't fucking touch me. I'm in the league. I got this. It's like, bro, well, now you have to go to jail and lose everything.
I know,
And the
right?
Giants already told him to stay away from team activities. They told him to stay away from the facilities.
Zoom meetings too. He's not allowed in those.
They're like, don't come in and you might steal something.
Career's over, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, young guy too, and I guess
Idiot.
he had some rough. I saw or I heard he had a pretty rough like rookie season where like a lot of the offensive guys like didn't really like him. Like they're like he's like kind of a problem,
Yeah.
type of thing too. So I actually saw that on the NFL Network. They were just talking about it, how the coach is trying to give him all a fresh start since he just got there, but he obviously fucked that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. He gone.
Yeah, he gone.
NFL, last chance you. Okay. Do you want to run into it? I'm using words.
We can move right into it.
Yeah, we could run into the
We'll
moving.
run into the wide receivers. We'll run into the wide
So
receivers.
yeah, so for this Man Crush Monday, I think you briefly said it, Tyler. Is we're just going. We all picked 2 players, a receiver and a running back, which we liked. Not so much like sleepers, but like not first rounders either.
Yeah.
Second
Just
rounders.
player profiles. Player profiles.
Yeah.
Guys that we're definitely gonna be targeting in these like
Right.
Early
I
to
don't wanna say
early mid rounds.
Yeah.
So if you're in one of our leagues, tune out now.
And just some good information that you maybe did not know. You know, overall, it could be more than just a player. Like so. You know,
Right.
just
Well, and
good info.
things change year to year. It's not gonna. You can't copy and paste numbers. So it's like, these are probably some players where we're like looking at statistics and looking at numbers and we're predicting growth. And if we like them, we're predicting growth and projections and seeing, trying to see a little bit of the next year in these players and trying to find a potential breakout. And that's what we're looking for and kind of why we like these players.
sure.
For sure, you want to jump into the first guy right here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Jump into
I
it.
know this first. Oh.
Ooh, Kenny Galladay.
Yeah, man. Y'all keep going, man.
All right, so Kenny Galladay. This
I
was
love
actually my guy right here, Kenny Galladay. What kind of caught me on Kenny Galladay was when we broke down the early wide receiver rankings. He was a guy where at first I had him at like 8 or 10 or something like that, and then I dropped him out of my top 12. Then I brought it back in, and then it was just moving them all around. But the more I just kept looking at the numbers, and even the more that I kind of talked to you guys about it, just the more I kind of fell in love with this guy. I mean, they call him Babytron for a reason. Just another big body weapon for Matt Stafford out there. I mean, he's used to throwing the ball up to the original OG Megatron. So, he's just doing the same thing. But Kenny Galladay finished last year as the wide receiver 6 in half-point PPR. Led the NFL in touchdowns with 11, 6th most receiving yards, 1,190. So, I mean, those are just really good numbers. Just some crazy hashtag interesting stats right here that I had on him. Stafford only played 8 games this year because he left with the back injury that was a season-ending injury. Actually, all the reports I've seen on Stafford, too, is that the back's good to go, so he should be ready to roll for this season. But in the 8 games that Stafford was the quarterback for the Lions, Kenny Galladay had 110 or more receiving yards in 4 of the 8 games. So, I mean, you like seeing that 50% of the time he's getting you 100-plus.
That's 10 already out the
yards.
gate.
In the last 8 games, when you had O'Driscoll and David Bleh as the quarterbacks, only 1 game over 100 yards, so that's not good. And he was actually held to under 80 yards in all the rest of the games. The other 7 games with David Blau and O'Driscoll, under 80 yards in every single one of those games. Still managed to finish wide receiver 6 somehow. Yeah. I'm not sure how that really happened, but one thing why I like him though is, I mean, like I said, Stafford's should be healthy, should be good to go. And low-key, Stafford was QB6 last year until he got hurt with the back injury. Sure. He was actually on pace to throw for 5,000 yards and 38 touchdowns. And you got to think a lot of those would have went Kenny Galladay's ways.
He still had 11.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, he did. So that's what kept him alive. Is he was able to get in the red zone with Driscoll and
Blah.
Blah.
Well, yeah, that 100-yard game had to have been that Bears game where he got that 80-yard pass like the very first play, right? Because, I mean, but that's the thing. He's a big guy, and he's 6'4", and he's not like a blazing speed guy, and he just does his thing.
I think he's still in the 4.4.
He runs 4.5, yeah, 6'4", 4.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's also
for
like
size, he's good.
There's also game speed.
speed, for sure.
It's like there's the
big, like,
the 40 speed, but then when you get in the game, it's just like you'll see some of these guys are next gen stats, top speed, and like these weren't actually the guys who were at the combine running the
fast 40s.
Dude, sometimes I think like because I always feel like acceleration is so much more, and I almost feel like they need like a shorter. I know 40 yards is not even that long either, but like I would be interesting if they did like a 10-yard dash or some shit. I know that sounds like weird, but or like a 15-yard dash and see how fast you could get.
Like measure a little bit more
to
of your
top
initial
speed.
burst.
Right.
They try to do it with like the 3-cone, but yeah, I mean it's yeah, I mean I think there's something about like adrenaline and like people chasing you and like a crowd that probably what I mean, like
For sure, yeah.
Especially once you get going, you hear the crowd and you're like, oh shit, we've all been chased before.
Yeah.
Hide and seek, obviously.
And you have that adrenaline. You might be running a 4.45 in basketball shorts and track and field stance, but on the field when you're hyped up for fucking week 2.
Yeah.
Corners talking shit. It's like, all right, motherfucker, watch this, bitch.
Got a big ass
Or
helmet.
Now you're running a 4.38.
yeah, exactly. You Vance McDonald stiff arm somebody and take off fucking faster than you've ever ran.
Yeah, dude, and then you pull their pants down.
Yeah,
Do the Vance dance.
Wait, what?
Vance dance. So yeah, no, I agree with everything you're saying, T.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a contract year too, so if he wants to get paid and I think you've maybe heard me say this a couple times. I mean, these receivers. I mean, you see Michael Thomas getting $20 million a year. Amari Cooper's getting $20 million a year. I'm not saying he's going to get $20 million, but I mean, $15 million, 16, 17, 18 million. That's a real possibility per year for this guy. So if he wants to go out and he wants to get, he wants to secure that bag, he's going to have to go out and perform at least what he did this year. I think like this is kind of like his floor almost. I mean,
yeah,
half the season with Stafford. I mean, when he had Stafford, he had 640 yards in the 8 games and 7 touchdowns. So I mean, if you kind of want to say you want to pace that out with another 8,
he would have finished with like 12 or 13.
You're looking at like 1,280 yards and 14 touchdowns. So I mean, that's
wide
pretty
receiver
good.
1.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, just in the looking at the target share was the big thing too, where it dipped when Stafford went out too.
Yeah.
So I mean, only 116 targets in those 16 games, but I see that going up to like, I mean, I had him at 5, and I have to move him from 5, so I see that going up to 140 actually.
Yeah.
And like you said, you can pace out the numbers kind of and do that, and still he still even has room for growth. At I think he's only like 24, 25.
Yeah,
he
just turned 26, but yeah, he's young.
Maybe 26. Okay, yeah.
But yeah, you're good. Yeah.
And then I mean, Marvin Jones is still a solid receiver, but he's up there in age. I think he's 31 now or 30. I know he's older than 29 at least. Yeah. And then even Amendola, so he's kind of, like I said, contract year. He is kind of the face of their franchise in a sense potentially. So, Golladay.
Yeah. I mean, trying to get him. I don't know what his ADP is, but I mean, if he falls to, I would assume second, third round. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Depending on if you're in a 10-man league or 12-man league, I don't think he gets out of the third round.
Double check Dre's source when he pulls this up.
I'm going on sleeper.
I'm just kidding.
So they have him. That's all.
What a sleeper. I'll look up fantasy football calculator.
Yeah, it'll just be exciting to see what he could do. Like I said, with a full 16 games with Stafford, contract year. I mean,
he's going 3-2 on a fantasy football calculator. I was going to say the turn. He's going out right after Amari Cooper.
Yep.
And Chris Godwin right before Adam Thielen and Cooper Cup. That sounds about right. Yeah.
They have him under his projections. They have him for 68 on sleeper. They have him for 68 catches.
So he's not a big reception guy, but he's a big play guy.
Yeah, he gets you about 18.
Yeah, he's
17.
never had more than 70 catches. I think that he's had 65 last year and then 70 the year before that. But what he is, like I said, he's a big play guy. He's a deep ball kind of guy, and then the touchdown guy.
Yeah. Well, what's their, because I think this is the first year you see him he dominates the target share a little more. It's been always kind of close between him and Marvin Jones, but I kind of predicting this is the first year he has that lion's share of the target share.
Hopefully, they said right here 115. I'm like, I don't know. I think it should be that's low.
Yeah,
because
low.
Last year was probably low because blah. He doesn't. They were trying to do more like short yardage check down like. You're not going to throw it to Golladay 15 yards downfield when you're checking it down.
I think he's gotten like 119 and 116 targets the last 2 years. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's like that 115 baseline is kind of probably what they're averaging out. But, yeah, I think, like I said, if he can make it even just a jump to like 125, 130 with a full 16 games with Stafford, I love it. So, one of my favorite guys I'm going to be trying to target.
And this is where we say you can't copy and paste stats, but this is what half these experts do. They just fucking copy and paste.
Yeah, got to go.
Write the same thing next year.
We can jump into the next guy. Who's the next man crush?
Who is it?
On the list right here.
Secret. Here it comes.
Robert Woods.
Ooh. Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah,
Wait, can you look at his face now?
Yeah, I've been looking at it because I've been looking at shit. But yeah, I mean,
all right, do me a favor, sell me on Odell because I've traded for Odell in multiple leagues the last I want to say 2 years where like I've gone out and get him and I'll have like Julio Jones and Odell or I'll have like I think one year I had like Antonio Brown and Odell.
And
that was
on
before
paper,
and on paper I'm thinking like my receivers are gonna be nice. Like last year I had. My first 2 picks were Davante Adams and Odell, and I was thinking like, oh man, my receivers are gonna be bueno. And Odell is he's officially dead to me. Like I know I
how you say no bueno.
I did the same
thing. I know I joke around and say I have like a do not draft list. Like he's on my own personal do not draft list just because he's burned me too many times. So convince me.
All right, I got you.
Sell him.
Sell me this pen.
Sell it.
All right, sell you this pen. So this pen.
The color of this
Baker
pen
Mayfield used this pen last year. He's not using it this next year.
The color of this pen is popcorn yellow.
So a lot of this, I mean, is not throwing shade at Baker. I mean, OBJ was, he did have a good amount of drops last year. I mean, he wasn't himself. They're saying he was hurt. He played hurt, whatever. But I got some numbers. So going back to 1970, before your 27th birthday, he has the most fantasy points per game than any receiver other than Julio and Michael Thomas. So, I mean, he's still productive. This was a crazy stat to me. Just this past season, right? First year on the Browns, he had a streak of 8 games in a row of no touchdowns. He also had 8 games of 7 or less targets, which obviously that's more Baker. That's not him. He's a talent. They're not putting the ball in his hands. And then he had 7 games where they actually did give him 9 or more targets. Baker's completion percentage was 52%. He had 74 targets, 39 catches. So it's like, you can't fully shit on OBJ all the way. I mean, we all did. I mean, fucking around, but that's bad. 52% completion percentage to somebody like that's that talented who had Eli throwing him the ball before. So it's not like, it's his fault. So I think a lot of that is they got a new offensive coordinator with Stefanski, who's more of a quarterback guru, or that's what they brought him on with the Vikings. So I have that number with Keenum 2 years ago. He got him at a 68 completion percentage, 22 touchdowns, and 7 picks. And Case Keenum is not Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And then they move him up the next year to offensive coordinator, and he gets Kirk Cousins to a 107.4 QB rating with 26 touchdowns and 7 picks. And that's what Kirk Cousins just did this past season. And I'd like to think Baker's probably better than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what Stefanski can bring as far as the way he likes to do the play action boots. And on top of that, Baker's more athletic also to do like the naked boots and the rollouts. He can run out of the pocket a lot more than Case Keenum and Kirk Cousins. So I think just OBJ's, and based on last year's defense, Odell Beckham has a 6th easiest strength of schedule based on defense from last year. So he's set up for success in that regard. I also went to look at Stefanski's wide receivers 1 and 2 when he was calling plays. 2 years ago when he had the guys, Diggs had 102 catches for 10, 21, and 9 touchdowns. And that was the year Thielen finished wide receiver 7 and Diggs finished wide receiver 10.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. But they're not a high passing team. They actually they run the ball more than they pass it, but they work off of play action. So I think
the big play potential.
Exactly. And him and Landry are going to be on the field all the time. How we were talking earlier, Stefanski wants to do the 22 personnel with double tight, double running back, 2 wide receivers. So I think the whole offense is going to take that step forward, and there's no way that you get a 52% completion percentage like that. I just don't see that happening. So I just think this was like the worst you're going to see out of OBJ. I don't think he's going to go 8 games in a row without getting a touchdown again either.
So let me ask you this, because I kind of view him as, I don't think he's a wide receiver 1 anymore. I view him more as like a wide receiver 2.
Until he shows it to you.
Do you still think he's a wide receiver 1?
I think he is. Talent-wise, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he finished like top 7 wide receiver this year.
Yeah.
But it's more one of those like, I want to see it now because you're on a new team. So I think the talent, yes, but I would draft him as my high-end wide receiver 2 with like upside. But there's going to be those people that are like, oh, he's going to be my wide receiver 1. I want to see it, but
he has the name. He is probably one of the biggest name value guys.
Yeah, and he's only 27 years old, so he's not, he's not crazy old. And I think he's got that chip on his shoulder. He's got something to prove. And like I said, Baker can't get much. That was a really bad season he had last year, Baker. So I'm hoping for the whole cohesiveness of like the offense and everything. I think, he should end better.
For sure.
Yeah, I think I'm just looking at. I was trying to find the fantasy football calculator. It's like it hasn't gone in the 8th round, which I don't think that's true.
I think they got it backwards, 5-8 instead of 8-5.
Yeah, maybe
they're tripping.
8th round. There's no way.
There's no way. Yeah, so that's why I'm like trying to look. I'm just going. I'll take him in the 8th round for sure if you got that far.
Yeah.
It looks like right now this is just Fantasy Pros consensus. It looks like he's wide receiver 11, 29 overall. So that's like middle. That looks like middle 3rd round.
Yeah.
So it's like roughly middle 3rd round.
So that's like, oh, right, perfect. I was just going to ask that. So would you take Juju or OBJ, Mike?
I'm going to take Juju.
Yeah, it's like hard for me to say because depending on their ADP, but
no, they're right next to each other. So Juju's 33.
I honestly would probably take Odell, to be honest.
Yeah,
I know
I think
as a Steelers fan, like
it's
it sounds,
close.
but I don't know. I would actually probably take Odell.
I think I go Odell too.
It's tough.
Why? I'm just curious why you say Juju, Tyler.
Because I said Juju.
He just looked. He just looked at the next receiver.
Yeah, well, no, also because Juju's a flat out number 1, so he's going to get the targets to be a 1 to where OBJ has
Well, I just see when we saw last year, Landry out targeted Odell Beckham. I mean, Landry is a really good receiver.
So
I mean,
underrated.
He's kind of. I mean, Landry's really, really good. So it's like a 1A, 1B over there with Landry and Odell, and then you go out and get an Austin Hooper, who was the tight end 1 in Atlanta he still had weapons like Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, which I mean is basically Landry and Odell in a sense. So I mean, Hooper's going to go out there and perform. You get the 5th-year option with Njoku. I mean, we saw Kareem Hunt get a ton of targets when he came in. I'm just not sure if like Odell's going to be like force-fed, kind of like how he was, because like, in New York on the Giants, I feel like he was like the guy.
For sure.
Like, they were like forcing the ball to him. Where I mean, when you have all these other playmakers now, I mean, you got to get these turnovers from Baker down. 21 interceptions and 14 interceptions. Like
That's why it's
he
him.
can't be trying to force the ball. He's got to really just go with what the right read is. So, I mean, Juju, there are some question marks. Can he get off man coverage? Like, is Big Ben's elbow going to be okay? But I still think that Juju's going to be, like, the guy there in Pittsburgh.
I mean, I don't see Chase Claypool taking, like, those number 1 corners.
Not
away.
yet. No,
you know
not
what I'm
yet.
saying? Like,
No.
I don't think Deontay Johnson or James Washington are going to do that either. So, to me, I'm thinking, okay, Juju's going to end up being
He's
like
gonna
the
get
main
what he's
guy.
kind of struggled with.
Yeah, and there has been, so like a lot of people are like, well, Ben, he hasn't really had a chance to prove himself as number 1 with Ben there because it's always been these backups. But actually, there's been like 2 games, and he's kind of like choked under pressure, low key. So he hasn't really like Juju just really hasn't like shown to me he can be that
alpha.
number 1 receiver. So like,
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, I know Big Ben wasn't there last year, but he was outperformed by Deontay Johnson. Like you look at the numbers and look at like the production, and I know when Big Ben wasn't there, there's chemistry and there's a difference, but it is saying something to your point if he's going to be the one, and that's probably why he didn't outperform Deontay Johnson, is because teams were focusing on him. So I mean, he still has to deal with that next year. Right. So I said I have my concern with Juju with that.
Yeah, I think it's unfair to really judge Juju because I mean, Big Ben goes down. You get these backup quarterbacks. I mean, we were just talking about Kenny Golladay, how he had to play with O'Driscoll and Blau. I mean, you're having, Juju. He's got to play with Mason Rudolph, who looked like the doll that just got stepped on with his head, and then you got Duck Hodges here, who's just whatever. And it's like I feel like these quarterbacks kind of like, instead of trying to like force it or have like the chemistry that Big Ben and Juju had or had built over the time, like if they look at their first read and they see the guy is even close to Juju, they're probably thinking like, oh, I'm not gonna force it. Like I don't want to fuck up. Like, oh, this guy's open over here. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So that could be a thing. I just think it's unfair to really gauge Juju on that with no Big Ben and stuff like that, putting these backups. So this will be like the first real year. We'll see.
Right.
I mean, you got to think too. Juju, what? He's 21 years old barely. So I mean, he's
young.
I mean,
He's
you gotta
23.
think
He's young.
he came out early.
he can only get better in a sense. So
No, he definitely has room to grow.
We'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
But
That
that-
one's like a to be determined for me.
I think this past year was supposed to be like the ultimate test, and obviously Ben got hurt, but like he did even in there like I said before, there was 2 games. It was the end of the season before last, and that's when he dropped the pass against the Jets, I think. And then I think he only had like 3 receptions for 30 yards, and Ben was in that game. And then the first game against the Patriots, you could argue though that Ben was injured because his elbow was. I mean, there's videos of him in August with a fuck ton of ice on his elbow. So I'm pretty sure Ben was actually injured before the season started. And me and Tyler have talked about that too. It's like, there's no way.
Yeah, there'd be times where he would throw it, he'd be like shaking his arm and shit.
You guys, you also gotta
But
think
you're right though.
they played
It's
against
a proving year for sure.
the Patriots. He played against the defensive player of the year. So I mean, if he's if he struggles with man coverage, he's only going to struggle against the best corner in football.
Right.
Defensive player of the year as a cornerback is pretty remarkable feat, I think. So
See?
We could jump into the next guy then.
Yeah, I feel like
Juju just got a player profile fucking organically right there.
somehow. You guys are giving me shit. Like, are you gonna pick
We
Juju?
got Robert Woods from the LA Rams. How
How
do you guys feeling about these?
USC, man? Hey, we can keep it going.
How are you guys feeling about these uniforms and this new logo?
Oh my
we
God,
keep
it's
saying how much we
fucking
hate him.
You heard Eric Dickerson what he said, right?
That they're soft.
He makes them look soft. Yeah.
Dude, it pissed me off because I kind of low key ranked our Cam Akers video, and all these videos came out about the uniform, and it fucked up ours. So that kind of pissed me off. The uniforms suck, and also it bumped our fucking video.
The
I
logo.
don't think they're that bad. I mean,
The logo is.
I think it's the logo. It gets me a little
Bro,
bit.
did you
weird.
see all the
It's like a baby ram.
Did you see all the IKEA
I can't
memes?
No.
Yeah, I saw those.
There's a fuck ton. People like
A
because
fuck
it says like Los Angeles Rams on like the chest plate right here, and then they just people like photoshopped and replaced it with like IKEA because it's just those exact
the
colors.
colors.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean,
It's actually funny though.
I'm just curious, like the process of like like the chain of command to like, oh, I have this dope drawing for the Rams, and they're like, I got to show it to this guy, and then like, all right, I like it too. Like, how many dumbass people did it go through for them to be like, let's do it, and they're dumb too. Like, how many fucking people? Like 5, you think?
I think those ones that are on the highlights right now are ugly. What is like white and
those ones
Right?
aren't
Dark
that bad.
blue.
That
It's
one's
like
not
white
that
and white.
bad.
You should have just went back to the OG with like Isaac Bruce in them. Like, what's wrong with that?
The tan, like
Yeah.
almost like tannish gold.
Like, dog, all retros are coming back anyway.
the yellow, I think the yellow. I don't know. This shit doesn't really fucking matter, but
All right, Robert Woods.
all right, Robert Woods. This is Anthony's guy.
All right, my man crush. All right, Robert Woods. What do we got? What do we
He's
got?
out the woods. He's out the woods.
Let me pull up my Woodsies.
The backwoods.
So,
Sorry.
I mean, our early rankings were only, 3 weeks ago for receivers? 2 weeks ago?
yeah,
it was right before the draft, actually. I think.
yeah.
I've actually flip-flopped. Cooper Kupp is out of my top 12. He's not even in my top 15 anymore.
Done.
And Robert Woods is my official 1A for the Rams.
Yeah.
Done.
It's the personnel change is just, we saw it from weeks 9 through 17. We talked about how Cooper Kupp had that massive. I feel like I'm going to talk shit on Cooper Kupp this segment, which I don't mean to because I've always liked Cooper Kupp.
He's just a
but
victim of circumstance.
It's just a victim of change.
Yeah.
And it's
That's how it is. Things change year to year.
yeah, or at least potential change. Weeks 9 through 17, Robert Woods was the wide receiver 12 in half PPR. Cooper Kupp, wide receiver 31 in that time. You take weeks 11 through 17, he was the wide receiver 8. So there was definitely a big personnel change in that that second half, which led to Robert Woods kind of taking over on the one. I was talking to off air to Tyler about how Cooper Kupp struggles against man in press coverage, and why you saw a dip in his targets and all that. And it's kind of ridiculous the pace. Robert, this is what I was laughing about, the pace he had in those weeks 9 through 17. So his pace, 16 game pace, 1,515 yards, 210 targets, 138 catches.
Oh Jesus.
Now he's obviously not going to do that, but it was just showing you how he was kind of dominating the target share there. I just kind of think the Rams are gonna. I think the league figured them out in that 11 personnel. So I think it's still there, and they drafted what's his name too,
Van Jefferson.
Van Jefferson, which would
before.
probably help them do that. I think they're going to mix and match between that. They had Higbee kind of break out a little bit too. Gerald Everett was solid, so I think they kind of stay more in that 12 personnel. Back-to-back years over 130 targets, 139 targets in only 15 games last year. I'm actually projecting him out for 152 targets. I have him going for 102 receptions, 1,250 yards, and only 6 touchdowns. That's the one knock is why it's kind of hard for me to throw him high is because he's never had a huge touchdown total.
6 is the most he's ever had.
6 is the most he ever had. But I mean, if the guy's going to get 150 targets and close to 100 catches, you got to figure he's going to get 5 or 6. And he also does add a little bit of rushing in there as well. So I'm figuring him in for 100 rushing yards and 1 touchdown on the ground. So just consistent week in and week out. The target share I love. Like I said, I'm not projecting 210 targets like we saw there. That'd be crazy. But even last year, he was on pace to right about 150, 155. So I have him going, like I said, about 155. I think he leads the Rams receivers this year in targets. And for Cooper Kupp to stay up there, the touchdowns are going to have to get up there, which can happen. But I kind of, like I said, I'm ranking Woods ahead of Cooper Kupp at this point.
I mean, you ain't mad. I mean, I'm not mad at it.
And you get him a wide receiver like 22. That's why I have him on this list.
for sure.
Yeah.
He always outplays his ADP.
Yeah, he's going to wide receiver 22. So let's look at that fantasy football calculator I have.
I mean, while you're looking, the one thing I always, because the Rams always run the end around. So yeah, the last 2 seasons he's had 36 carries for 272 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he's averaging a little under 7 yards a carry, and he's averaging last year 17 for 115 and a touchdown, and the year before 19 for 157 and a touchdown. So, I mean, not many receivers are. So he's basically getting a carry a game.
Yeah. And it just adds up over the course of the year.
But he's getting you 7-8 yards, and if he can get a touchdown, and I mean, it's just the way that he's used, the fact that they use him that way.
It shows you the coaches are comfortable using him in all around the field. Like he's a versatile player for them.
For sure.
They can scheme him into the offense. I do like Robert Woods a lot. I was kind of upset because I drafted him in one league last year, and I kind of went running back heavy for the first couple picks, and then I drafted Woods to kind of be like that guy. Just at least a solid wide receiver too.
For sure.
But he wasn't like, I feel like the first 8 weeks or whatever were like Cooper Kupp kind of. So I ended up trading him to get Odell. Like this is one of my Odell things. I traded him to get Odell.
And
then Robert Woods just that was last 8 weeks, like you said, he kind of just exploded. And he totally shit on what Odell was doing.
13 by 13, 23, 23, 4, 16, 17.
Targets?
No, fantasy points.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Odell was probably like 7,
shit.
11, 4.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
6.
I was like,
That's
thanks.
insane.
But
He got
no,
18 targets one
I
game.
do like Woods. I do like Cooper Kupp as well. I think both these guys are going to be really good players in fantasy. It's like a 1A, 1B for me. I think I was telling Anthony too upstairs. Like, I think I'll just take whatever one falls to me. Like, if like Woods goes first, then I'll take a Kupp if he falls in the right spot. If Kupp goes first, then it's like, okay, I'll take a Woods. Especially if I'm not gonna pick one over the other. Especially if like, okay, maybe I can get a running back instead. It's like, all right, I'll take the running back here or another receiver right here, and then I'll just grab whichever Rams players left because I think both these Rams wide receivers are gonna put up a lot of production for fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's a 1A, 1B, but like I said, I do have Robert Woods as the 1A. I moved him up to 1A. And the reason I do like Robert Woods is because Cooper Kupp and probably, I'd say 80% of your draft is 90% of your draft is probably going to go first.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
Most people just follow their, ESPN rankings or the ESPN rankings, and Cooper Kupp's going to be ahead of him in 90% of those. So it's like, like I said, I feel like I'm bashing on Cooper Kupp, but I like Cooper Kupp. Like I said, I mean, I'm still going to take him at the right value, but Robert Woods is going to go behind him in 90% of your drafts. And like I said, I think there's a little bit more safety in him this year than there is with Cooper Kupp because there's some big red flags
or injuries.
Yeah, injuries, and then the fact that I can get him probably around later or maybe even
2,
potentially 2 in some drafts because like we just said, he has that name where it's like.
People
It's
sleep.
not-
Yeah, he doesn't have the Odell Beckham type of name, where people are like, ooh, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like a Jarvis Landry, like just under the radar, slept
Yeah,
on.
exactly.
Like just
Perfect
always
comparison.
always consistent, always is going to be a wide receiver too, and then you're just always like, I'm going to get him next year, and then you probably never do. Like
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, he's the wide receiver 20 overall, so 44, which puts him in like the middle of like round 4, right?
4, yeah.
Ish. So, and this is just basing off consensus rankings. So I wouldn't be. If you can get him at like that 5 turn, and you have 3 running backs, and he's your second receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
It's got wide receiver 1 upside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, he's the last 2 years he's averaged 134 targets as a. Not many, even if he is a 1B, what 1B do you know that gets 135 targets again? There's fucking wide receiver 1s that don't get 135 targets in a season.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked to Goff. He's had back-to-back years of 4,600 or more passing, or pretty much 4,600 yards passing. So I mean, you got to think a good chunk of those are going to go his way.
I thought you said, I misheard you, and I was like, you were like, I think we talked to Goff, and I was like, when did we talk to Goff?
We did.
Let's interview him.
Previously.
I could
Sorry.
actually see Goff having a touchdown spike again this year. I think without
Going up or down? I hope so.
without Gurley there, I feel like they were so emphasis based on running in the red zone. Where now maybe they, run that 12 personnel closer to the red zone. They throw a little more and
Open it up.
Which Cooper Kupp has the huge touchdown upside. So and even like Robert Woods, if they do throw more and he has a low spike, maybe he gets to 7, 8.
Yeah, and you got Higbee there.
Yeah.
Gerald Everett. I mean, they have more weapons, so
For sure.
I don't know about all
get it
that,
cracking.
All right, you want to jump into your guy, Mr.
Yeah.
Mike? Who do you got?
Yeah,
on
let's
this
go.
list? Who's your man crush?
We got Christian Kirk. Yes, I went with a Cardinals player. I actually did have a Patriots player at first, but I'm going to save him for a sleeper episode. Christian Kirk right now, his ADP is, this is according to the Fantasy Football Calculator. I don't know what if you guys want to pull up another one just to double check, but in this, it's going early 6th round. Does that sound about right?
Sounds about right.
to
Yeah,
me.
I would say like 7th roundish.
Yeah. So I think Christian Kirk, like a lot of people might argue that because DeAndre Hopkins is there, they have Andy Isabella, they do have Keyshawn Johnson. and Fitzgerald actually. So there's a lot of people there, but I do think that he's kind of like established his role before Hopkins came in there. I think he was like the wide receiver one, and so now I think you could have like this. I'm gonna compare to Pittsburgh. It's like I think it could be similar to like the AB Juju or AB like Martavis Bryant kind of years. Like I could see Christian Kirk the past 2 years. He's had only 3 touchdowns in each year. He went up. He had an uptick in receptions, which I see. He had 68. Yeah, 68 receptions this past year. So I think. I mean, obviously that's actually pretty decent for receptions, but
sure.
I think he could possibly just be more open with. There could be like double coverage on DeAndre Hopkins. I think he's going to be more open. I think you could draft Christian Kirk in the 6th round and possibly have a wide receiver one. I don't think it's like. I think he could finish in crazy numbers, or like we saw Juju come out after that 1 year. He was getting drafted the next year, this past year at like early 2nd round.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I could see that same type of thing happen with Christian Kirk this year. That I think this offense is going to be like pretty insane. And yeah, I really believe that Christian Kirk's good value at that late in.
It's funny you say that.
And by the way, and Kyler Murray only had he threw 20 touchdowns last year. And we're talking about is like I think he could throw more than that.
Yeah, and he only played 13 games. So those numbers you just set out were 13 games. So he missed 3. So that would be a lot higher targets, a lot higher receptions and yards. And to your point, exactly with the 20 touchdowns, I think we all see that going up this year.
For sure, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I remember seeing some crazy stat. It was halfway through the season. I can't remember what week it was, but it was talking about how like there was only like 3 players or something like that had like 60 plus targets and didn't have a touchdown, and like he was one of them.
Yeah,
it was like crazy. Like he had
Mike
a certain
Williams
amount,
had to be the other,
and it was Mike
like,
for sure. Mike
that.
Williams was up there. Yeah, it was crazy.
Always.
Like the X amount of targets, and to not have a touchdown, it was like him, Mike Williams, and someone else, I think. But I mean, yeah, I think I agree with what you're saying. Like you get a guy like D Hop over there, kind of could help. Like you said, you have AB who's really getting that attention, and then it kind of just opened up the field for Juju. So it could really open up things for Christian Kirk. Getting into his 3rd year into the league too. So
I feel like we can kind of make this argument a lot, or people do just in general, and when people analyze fantasy, is they'll say the argument is that like a wide receiver will take like double coverage and stuff, but there's only few receivers that actually defenses will fucking game plan for that. And
Julio,
Julio Hopkins and like AB
Davante,
are guys that will happen too. So
sure.
yeah.
No, I was just gonna say it's just funny that we just happen to be talking about Robert Woods, but I could see him being just like that, like sneakily when he had 68 last year. I don't see why he can't get like 82 catches like on the low, which is super solid.
Yeah.
82 catches, 1,000 yards, and like 6 touchdowns.
He had
That's like Robert Woods, and that puts you in top 25, as long as he doesn't run into the wall like that after scoring a touchdown. Because he fuck himself up.
They basically don't really use a tight end, the Cardinals. So it's like it's not out of the realm of possibility to see, all 3 of those receivers have success. And, I mean, the tight end position all last year only had 56 targets.
Yeah, they're looking at Dan Arnold right now to be like, but he's a receiver. He actually weighs like 215, 20 pounds. So
yeah, so it's like,
tight wide receiver.
Like most teams, the Cardinals are a different type of offense. Most teams, like the tight end position sees like 100 to 120 targets. So you're kind of getting roughly an extra 60 targets that can go around to the receivers than most teams they're getting. Like we've talked about, we don't see this, the target share being the same with DeAndre Hopkins. But, yeah, I mean, 13 games last year. Like I said, it wouldn't surprise me to see 3 guys go over 90, Fitzgerald 90. And if Christian Kirk can get up to like 130, and be, efficient in the red zone, he could definitely have a big year. And you're probably getting him super late.
Yeah, he can outplay his ADP also for sure.
I mean, 2 years ago, Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, and Cooper Kupp are all fantasy relevant.
Yeah,
you were hyped if you had any part
3,
of all of those 3 guys. So it's not. Like you said, same division too.
For sure. You want to jump into the next guy?
All right. So that was all the receivers. So now let's get into these running backs, baby.
Backs who run.
I think we're actually going to stay on the same team right here.
Ooh, stick with the Cardinals, baby.
Who?
He's from Kenya.
We're going to go with my guy right here. Kenyan Drake. Drake? I thought you would have had that ready, Mike.
Yeah, I fucked up. Well, I was sitting there prepping for Christian Kirk, dude.
It's all good. It's all good, dude. It's all good. Yeah. All right. So Kenyan Drake, one of my favorite players. I'm going to be trying to target him in every single one of my drafts. I'm probably be drafting him I mean, second round realistic, I think, for me, is probably a lot of times where I'm going to be taking Drake just because I'm super stoked on the upside right here. Now, before I jump into the numbers, I mean, I know, Anthony, me and you talked about it. Like, I mean, people were drafting David Johnson in the first round pretty much in every single draft last year. You know, some people were even taking David Johnson at 1 overall. So it's not unrealistic to say here and say Drake could be what everyone thought David Johnson was going to be last year. It was a little weird for them to go out and trade for him at the trade deadline. I mean, obviously there was all the trade rumors that the Dolphins were going to trade Drake. The Cardinals was not one of the destinations that I heard of at all. So I was really surprised, especially with them having a guy like David Johnson over there. But like, you know, say sometimes, you know, it's just maybe certain players fit in these certain schemes and these certain offenses a little bit better than, you know, what the prior scheme before. So. But Drake right here, he finished as RB16 and half-point PPR, and that was only playing in 14 games, so 2 less games in a full 16-game season right there. In his 6 games with the Dolphins, he was RB40. I mean, they were not utilizing Drake at all over there, and it was actually really frustrating to see Kalen Ballage vulture these touchdowns, or like not touchdowns, these touches. You know, it's just like we would see Drake, he'd barely get like 10 touches a game. We're just thinking like, what are you doing? Give him the ball.
What's worse than a ball carrier, a ball holder?
He's just worthless, bro. He's just worthless. Yeah. So not really utilized in Miami, but kind of a good thing in the fact that, you know, the tread on the tires is still fresh, you know, and he should be ready to go. But then after being traded during the bye week in week 8, week 9 he starts out with Arizona. He plays 8 games with them. He actually finished as RB4 during that stretch of 8 games with the Cardinals. In the 8 games, he had 814 total yards and 8 touchdowns. The 814 total yards were 7th most in the NFL during that stretch. 151 touches in those 8 games. You know, you do a 16-game pace right there, you're looking at 302. That would have been the 10th most for all running backs. So, I mean, you're looking at a good, solid workload right there for the running back. And then one thing you like just seeing is, like, you know, 15-plus touches in 7 of the 8 games with Arizona. You know, like, it's like they went out, they got him, and, like, David Johnson was an afterthought, and they were like, hey, look, this is our guy going forward. I mean, he's on a 1-year transition tag deal, so if he wants to get paid, he's gonna have to go out there and perform, you know, put up or shut up. And like I said, the tread is fresh. I think, you know, I kind of agree with Mike right here. I think the Cardinals are going to be an exciting team to go. At least one of like the most or one of the more exciting offenses in the NFL. And, you know, I think just having a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, or, you know, and Kyler's coming to his 2nd year, you know, you get those RPO quarterbacks. It kind of really opens up the lanes for the running back. And to go out and draft Josh Jones out of Houston, I think it was in the 3rd round, you know, the left tackle, just kind of help boost that line. Yeah, I mean, I love Drake going forward in this year.
Are you scared, Dre, about the Cardinals or what?
No, my thing.
By the way, if you're new to listening to the podcast, Dre, even though he has a Diamondbacks hat on, he's a 49er.
I'm a Niner fan.
He's a 49ers fan.
I just actually remembered I had this hat, and it's one of my favorite things. That's my shit.
I noticed it immediately.
No, honestly, I think I know you guys are higher on him than I am, but I do like him more and more as I like watch. But I hope he does ball, because there ain't no way the Cardinals can pay him. So I hope he balls, because they're not going to pay Kyler Murray, D-Hop, and everybody else. So.
Bro, you guys have all the running backs. You guys don't need. Well,
yeah, no. I don't think he's going to go to the Niners. No, I think if he stays healthy, like I heard when I was coming up, like the tread on the tires are low. He never really got a lot of carries at Alabama or in Miami. You know, he got his shot and he ran with it, pun intended. And he's he's in an offense that pretty much, I mean, it's all about fit, and he's just like a perfect fit. He can run like the routes they need for the running backs. He can catch. I mean, he seems to be in a good place. I mean, that's half the battle is, you know, going to a good landing spot, and he has that. They're going to be down. I mean, they're in a good division too. So, and he doesn't have to leave the field because he can catch. So, I mean, he's a 3-down dude. Hopefully he's not going to fall to me, because Tier is probably going to take him. So,
I mean, you got to figure with the. Like, I've been doing like a lot more actual projections lately, so like you kind of like you have to look at numbers, stats, team that. I mean, I know, like you said, the pace was right about 250 carries last year, roughly. So I mean, you could figure even 230 carries. You know, I think he kind of repeats close to that 250 number. He was the obviously goal to go red zone back. He scored 8 touchdowns. 4 of those came in one game against the Niners, so it was a little bit. Bald. But still, in 8 games, let's just say he even scored 4. He still scored 4. 16 games, still 8 touchdowns. That's solid. The receiving work was there for him. He was on pace for about 60 catches there. Let me make sure I'm correct on that. Yeah, 28 receptions. So on pace for about roughly, 55, 60. So, I mean, any running back that's going to get you above 50, 50 receptions, especially in full PPR, and get you 250 carries in goal line work, I mean, that's a relative safe player. There's no really, the high floor, high ceiling. And like Tyler said, I mean, you saw him be RB4 in 8 games. So there is some potential upside there. So, I do like Drake too.
One thing I just like about him is he's like a home run guy. I mean, he played in Miami, which we did not have a good offensive line. Goes to the Cardinals, they don't have a good line. I mean, it does help that they got the left tackle in the draft, but I mean, how many plays, Anthony, we see where he gets the ball and he's about to get nailed and he hits a spin move and he breaks off a 50-yard run, or he'll just do one quick little juke and he'll just be gone. So I mean, he has the home run potential, the boom potential, and that's what I really like seeing. Especially like I said, it's in one of the offenses that should be one of the most high-powered offenses in the NFL.
Yeah, only one season below 4.5 yards per carry, or not. It wasn't even a season, one part of his career because it was half the year in Miami. But
a fraction.
He's always a fraction. He's always been above 4.5 yards per carry.
Yeah,
that's fuck. That's
Just
solid.
so
That
explosive
is
guy, like you
horny,
said.
dude.
That's solid. No, that's solid.
there you go.
If you get 255, that's 1250.
Yeah, he's good, man. No,
I had to throw it in there.
Kenyan.
I fucked
Yeah,
up earlier.
love me some Drizzy Drake.
Drake.
All right, we gonna
Drizzy
jump into the
Drake.
next guy right here.
I don't even know who's next.
Miles Sanders.
I'm not prepared.
Oh, my boy. Go ahead.
All right, hold on. Let me get back.
Yeah,
We
I
got
think it's a
Miles
surprise.
Sanders from
I-
the Eagles.
Well, I don't know. I don't even know who you picked, Mike. So don't tell me. I forgot.
Oh,
I thought it was
dude.
David Johnson, honestly.
Oh fuck, that is who you picked. See,
All right.
surprise.
So Miles Sanders, this is something where I'm why I said we look at these numbers and we're looking at stuff and we're trying to see growth and potential, the next year's, finishes with them. I know we talked about Miles Sanders in the original ranking podcast. I had him at 12. I've moved him up to, I think 10,
10. Yeah, it's probably about
maybe
right.
9. I gotta look at my rankings again.
I would move.
I'll look at
That's
it for
great.
you.
That's right. I would move. That's a good call.
Yeah, but I mean, last year there was 2 seasons, and it was when Jordan Howard was there and when Jordan Howard wasn't there.
Yeah.
And they did nothing in the draft to really bring anybody in. That's why if you see me on the podcast when we bring up Carlos Hyde, I'm like, stay away,
Yeah,
stay away,
Please stay away.
because don't intrude on my man crush date with Miles Sanders, right, Hyde?
Right?
You had Miles Sanders at 12
That's what I'm saying.
previously.
Yeah, that's what I was
yeah,
saying.
I was just double checking
Yeah, you
because you
move it-
said you didn't remember.
Oh, move him up to 10.
Yeah.
Straight?
But yeah, RB11 from weeks 9 through 17, and there was 2 games in there where it was Jordan Howard played in another. He was 50% of the snaps in one game, and then week 17 it was weird. They smacked the shit out of the Redskins, and he only saw 50% of snaps. I don't know if it was something to where it was
No, yeah, he actually I know it. He hurt his ankle in the second or third quarter, and that's the Boston Scott game where he had the 2
Yeah.
touchdowns. So he just tweaked his ankle, and they wanted to help him preserve him for the playoffs. So
Yeah.
they set him out.
But I mean, you were seeing snap percentages of 85, 87, 81. I mean, the snap percentage is what you want to see from that top tier RB1. I mean, anyone who's going to play 80% of snaps as a running back is gonna, unless they're bad.
How the hell are you only playing 2 downs, playing 80%?
Yeah, well, he's playing through. Well, I'm saying their finish
for
is going to
sure.
probably be almost a lock, top 15, top 18 if you're playing 80% of your team snaps behind the Eagles' offensive line, who is always year in and year out one of the top offensive lines. But RB11 weeks 9 through 17, you take those. If you even cut it 11 to 17, where he was only the 80% snap share roughly, RB7 and half point PPR. So, where am I looking at this? 6 straight games in that time frame of 5 targets or more. So you're seeing the target volume there too.
Yeah, all these highlights are him catching the ball. I don't think
Yeah.
I've seen one of him actually running the ball.
His
But
catch
you love seeing that.
His
You
catch
love- you
percentage
love
is
seeing it.
stupid too.
Yeah, it was 79.4%, I think, if I remember correctly. 6 straight games of 5 targets. Last year that sample size, we talked about it. I'm talking about it was 226 carries, 1,048 yards, only 4 touchdowns, 4.87 targets per game, 3.87 catches per game, 470 passing yards, and 4 touchdowns. So I mean that's it's kind of mid to high end RB2. I'm kind of projecting a little bit more volume this year. I'm projecting him, going up to 256 carries for 1,228 yards, 8 total touchdowns. You get 250 carries, you're gonna get in the end zone more than 4 times.
Yeah.
Especially with that offensive line and being the main guy there.
That he had 4 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, that was all he had last
Yeah.
year. Or he was in that sample. I think he only had 3 in general too last year. Real low touchdown total last year. So I see that going up some. I have him for 88 targets, 66 receptions, over 566 receptions, for 567 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I have him for 1,800 scrimmage yards and 10 touchdowns. And
Which that should be an RB1.
it's an RB1 number.
Yeah,
right
that's
there.
pretty close. Yeah, I have him right around the same. I think he's going to catch 65, 70 balls next year for like 700 yards is what I would think.
Yeah, so
Because he played the Redskins twice, right?
and the Giants.
And the Giants twice.
Well, I mean, they got all these speed guys in the draft, and you know, even go get a Marquise Goodwin. You should get a healthy Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson. You know, it's you know, those guys stretch the field and you just dump it off to them. I mean, how much space is that guy going to have to work with? I mean, and we see how like elusive he is right here, kind of just run the ball. So
yeah, and he's drawn. I mean, I don't think this is kind of a little bit too hype, but there's people comparing him to like Christian McCaffrey because of the rookie year and whatnot.
Yeah, that's me for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a little bit too extreme.
Well, they
to
both
say
do have reception overload.
Well, it's more his yards per carry is really good. He's like 5 yards, which was I was surprised that he was going to finish with that as a rookie.
And the yards per catch was like 10 point something, which is high. I'm projecting that down to 8.6. So I'm having him losing 2 yards off of that still. But the targets are going up to me and the receptions are going up to me. I mean, if you're telling me I could take Miles, I'm going to take him all day at the turn. If I'm in your draft and you're banking on Miles Sanders coming in the second, third round, he won't be there.
Trust me. Why do you think I'm considering? I mean, he's because, like you said, the Eagles. There's no way. Like Boston Scott, he's going to go in there. He'll get his touches, obviously, but he's still going to get 250. 235 to 260 a game, or I mean a season. So, and he's young. He just turned. I think he just turned like 22, or he's about to turn 22. So he's young. And he didn't play that much in college. I mean, he was behind Saquon, so he only had 1 year to shine, and he did well, which is the year, before he got drafted. So another guy who doesn't have crazy tread on his tires, and he's actually aspiring. He wants to be a Christian McCaffrey. I was reading an article where like that's what he wants to like. He wants to be used in that regard, as far as not getting off the field and feeling like he could catch 80 to 90 balls. So
And
the fact that he feels that way is cool.
Yeah, and I mean, 63 targets in that time. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me honestly if he got up to 100.
Yeah.
And that's like reaching his that's kind of reaching his ceiling. But the catch percentage was around 79%, which is even take it down to 73. Say he gets 100 targets, still 73 catches. He's probably finishing in the top 8 to 6 at least. If the touchdowns aren't high, then it's going to be lower. But if he gets, if he does spike this year in touchdowns, you saw Melvin Gordon his rookie year have 0 touchdowns.
Literally.
So sometimes shit like that just does happen. But if he gets 9, 10 touchdowns on the ground with that amount of volume and receiving upside, I mean, there's some upside built in there too. That's why I like it.
Yeah, and the last 8 games, he probably had a lot more targets and catches because Jordan Howard had a game where he had 2 receiving touchdowns, which I've never seen in my entire life.
I think I remember that.
Oh, and one of them was like a complete broken play. They sent 8 and he just went on a swing route and he just caught it and just took off. I was like, "Are you kidding me? That's not Miles Sanders."
The linebacker was like, "Wait, who is that?" No, I'm good.
Yeah. He's like, "That's a fullback. Why is a fullback wearing that number?" But if he could stay healthy, I mean,
Yeah, I was telling Anthony off air. I mean, for me personally, if I could get both these guys, if I could have like a Miles Sanders Drake combo, I would be stoked. With that.
Yeah, that'd be, for sure.
And that would probably be with like you in the first round, you're drafting like a stud wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? Because those guys are probably not going to go until like the second, third round.
Yeah, I
You
feel
can
like
definitely pull that off if you were to go like Michael Thomas at 5 or something like that. Let's just say the big 4 running backs are gone.
You'd have to have like the 3, 5, so the 5th. Yeah, so you'd get him
you
at
could definitely get Drake in that turn.
29.
I can see Miles Sanders mid third.
And then you're just waiting to win your trophy.
Yeah,
You're just waiting 60 weeks.
Niz has it, whatever, man. Fuck him. It's bullshit. I'll get it back. Yeah, Miles Sanders though.
Miles Sanders, he's a guy, and he's Anthony's guy. On to the next one. Man crush. Who's next?
David Johnson.
Nick fucking Chubb.
My dude.
You got a Chubb for Chubb?
Oh man. Yeah. Semi Chubb. Ooh, like that. I mean, I know we talked about it earlier. I know the whole Kareem Hunt thing going to the Browns. So I pretty much just had myself a Browns profile. I already went around or talked about the whole Stefanski and how he likes the offense. I did leave a couple numbers out, obviously, so I can use it for the relevance of running backs. But Dalvin Cook last year led the NFL with 29 goal-to-goal carries, which is pretty impressive. I mean, that's a lot, 29. So he does, and I feel like the Browns, Nick Chubb is going to be that guy. If they're going to hand the ball off to somebody, I feel like there's going to be more of a Nick Chubb than a Kareem Hunt. But if they're going to pass it like a swing route, it's probably more of a Kareem Hunt. They ran it. They had 133 yards per game, which gave him a 6th in the NFL. He total carries, 476 carries to all running backs. That was 4th in the NFL. That was Stefanski last year. So, like I said, they work backwards. They like to run the ball. Like I said, Dalvin 29 goal-to-goal carries. What I thought was interesting, though, is people look at Nick Chubb and they're like, oh, maybe he's just like, maybe a power guy or speed guy. But I think he's pretty well balanced. He led the NFL. And granted, this was with a Browns offensive line that we would say was pretty, they were like lower bottom half last year.
Yeah.
He led the NFL last year with 2.7 yards after contact on runs up the middle, which is with a bad O-line. And he was second in the NFL last year with explosive run plays, which were considered runs of 20 or more yards.
As he runs the entire field.
As he runs 88
And
yards
our
right there.
highlights on
And it's
YouTube.
actually even funnier that's that team. So he was second in the NFL. The only player who had more was Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I want to say he's done that 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
too.
so yeah,
because it's not even like it's a 1 year thing. Because I remember maybe not top 2, but it's been like top 5 for back-to-back years.
No, so, yep, I have it written down. So the year before that, he had 18 explosive plays. And I went back to Pro Football Focus. They go retroactive back to 1982. There's only been one player ever to get back-to-back ratings of 90 or better in its first 2 seasons, and it's Nick Chubb. And that's running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, everything. So as a rookie, he only started the 8 games after they fired what's his name? The black coach? Sorry.
Hugh Jackson.
Hugh Jackson. He still finished with 996 carries with 8 touchdowns and 5 yards per carry. As a rookie,
990 yards. You said carries. That's a lot of
5
carries.
yards per carry. Yeah,
5.2.
996 yards. Yeah, and he still had 8 touchdowns last year. He also finished with 8 touchdowns, but he was second in the NFL in rushing because Derrick Henry went bananas at the end of the
Bonkers
year.
at the end.
Yeah, so I mean the whole thing. I mean, you add Coughlin, you add Jedrick Willis. He's averaged 5 yards per carry for 2 years. I mean, I just told you he literally gets you almost 3 yards after he gets touched. I've seen running backs get 3 yards. Period. So,
I've seen Keelan Blanche get 1.8.
dude,
Never get 3 yards.
I mean, no disrespect. McCaffrey's rookie year, he was like 3.4. Like he wasn't doing that great either. So 2.7 after contact runs up the middle. It just shows you that he can fall forward, break tackles and explosive play runs. I mean, he also recorded the fastest run, which was that run right there, miles per hour. He had the fastest run for a running back last year. So it's just. I just like I said, the whole offense, like I said, 476 carries with Stefanski, Dalvin, the way they used him, and he likes him in the same light. So I just like the whole, as long as Stefanski, because he is calling the plays. So I just like how he worked with the Vikings.
yeah.
So I'm hoping to see the whole offensive, like the whole unit make like 2 steps forward for the Browns. And if not, Baker's like, they might have to look for a QB because he's like, they have a QB coach, and he's like, you work with him, I'm going to call the plays.
Yeah.
That's basically what's happening. Because they do have a QB coach, but he's just going to be with Baker. So
Yeah, he's one of the hardest guys for me to like officially rank because like
the productivity is there.
Yeah, there was the receptions splits when Hunt were there, but it's a whole new staff. So it's
yeah.
like, is that going to be the same? Is it not? We don't know. Like it's like you can't just say the second half splits when Hunt got there to this year are going to be exactly the same because they're not, and it's like could be worse.
And it looks like he's trying to use both of them, so they could help each other.
Yeah, could be better, could be worse,
Yeah.
could be neutral. So that's kind of where I'm having the hard time figure that out. But yeah, to your point, I mean, the offensive line only got upgraded, and he's just been like a monster on the ground. I mean,
I don't see him getting worse.
yeah, I mean, like I said, it's hard to project him for under 4.5 yards per carry with an upgraded line.
Oh yeah.
That's like me being like,
They really
On a play action
They really
backwards team.
beefed that lineup for sure.
So, kind of homer, I do own him, but I'm just talking numbers. Like 5
Yeah.
yards per carry back-to-back years is good when you're doing these kind of things. And it's like 2 years ago, the Browns weren't good, and he was still getting 5 yards a carry. He almost ran for 1,000 yards on accident. So
I don't know if the stats you
accident.
were rattling off right there, but 68 forced missed tackles. That was second most. I don't know if you had that in there. I say you had a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, no, I said explosive plays. I
Yeah,
did.
yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
So
I just
yeah,
did-
68 forced missed tackles. That was the second most in the entire NFL. So I mean, just even another little
So-
cherry on top right there. I'm a little biased with it. I do think he's super talented. Obviously, I mean, all the numbers you just said right there, the forced missed tackles, the rushing and stuff like that, and obviously it helps to boost the offensive line. You get a right tackle and a left tackle. And then you get Hooper, just another offensive weapon that the
Stefanski.
defense has to game plan for. Stefanski, all that stuff. But I don't know if I'm gonna have any shares of Nick Chubb on my team. But I think I'm gonna have a lot of Kareem Hunt because I think Kareem Hunt will go in those later rounds.
like 5-round difference for
and,
sure.
and
for
it's
sure.
like okay, maybe I'm not getting too much of a drop off, and I'll just wait for like a Kareem Hunt. I'm a little concerned because I mean, you gotta bro, that first year Kareem Hunt came onto the scene, he was a savage.
Yeah,
but
but
and then
also that was also not saying he's not good, but also because he was in a good system where they,
Yeah.
you know, play calling obviously matters. But but he was he led the NFL in rushing, didn't he?
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt his rookie year. So
Yeah.
So I
Stuff.
just don't think Kareem Hunt goes away. So like you said, Anthony said, he's like a tough guy to kind of gauge.
Kareem
no, for
Hunt
sure.
was sick when he came in. First game, opening game.
Fumble.
Against the fumbles, and then scores 3 touchdowns against the Patriots, and a Chiefs win over the Patriots.
I remember we're like, did someone draft him in our league? I remember we're
Me.
like, was it you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bum, I hate
I
you.
think someone you sniped him right before someone because someone was it might have been Spatty. He was like, "Fuck, man,
Yeah,
fuck
I
you."
think so because I thought Spatty did it. His Spatty he's always like the whisper. Didn't he? Wasn't he the one that took Arian Foster back in the day?
Yeah.
I remember in one of my leagues, right before I took Kareem Hunt, some guy took Spencer Ware. He's like, what? Spencer Ware's still on the board. I'll take Spencer Ware. And I was like, all right. I had the very next pick. I was like, Kareem Hunt. He's like, well, who's that? I was like, the starter.
Good looks.
Yeah.
You should tune in to Average Bros Fantasy Podcast and watch us fry you. That's funny. No,
All
I
right,
mean,
you want to move into the next guy?
Yeah, I mean,
he's,
but yeah, Kareem Hunt-
honestly, he's probably my most difficult early running back to
it's
rank.
tough. Yeah.
All right. So
Standard, I
didn't-
like him a lot more. Sorry, Mike, because you get that total yardage and
Yeah.
touchdown, and it's not so much. You can catch those
Contingent on catches.
Yeah, you can catch those 5 catches for 12 yards, and you get an extra 5 points in PPR. But
Yeah.
in standard, it's like you're just getting the 1, 2.
Yeah,
So
it's
I will
more
say
raw.
he'll be a lot easier for me to rank in standard. It's going to come more to the half and full.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
for
Michael. Sorry.
And everyone's
you're
going to be
good.
all over him.
Lo
too, no
siento,
homo.
mijo.
So I kind of picked another Cardinals player, but kind of not because he's on the Texans now.
No, but he did.
But the film we're looking at, if you're listening to audio, you can go to YouTube and check out and watch the highlights as we talk about these players. You know, a little extra. Don't forget to subscribe, like the video, you know. But yeah, so I picked David Johnson. He's going similar to my other previous pick in ADP wise in the 6th round, a little towards the end of the 6th round. And I just like him just for this. He's had, obviously, we've seen seasons where he gets 20 touchdowns in a season, not 4. That's a shit throwback to me.
Yeah, we
fucking
had
up
an
the
off the air
stats.
blooper.
Yeah.
Stuff,
I was
bro.
misreading stats, which is, yeah.
That shit was funny.
Anyways, so like we've seen him do it though. We've seen him be super fantasy, like the guy. He has gone in drafts as number 1, then he fucking tripped and slipped and fell on his wrist.
I still remember the play.
So yeah, in week 1 in 2008, 17 or 18, I
Fucking
think.
swing route.
So it's been a couple years since he's really been super fantasy relevant, but I think that this year, I was looking at the depth chart for the Texans. It's David Johnson and they have Duke Johnson, and then after that it's Buddy Howell and Karen Higdon. So
God damn it, Karen.
Oh my god.
so when I look at that, it just tells me that they're kind of, as of right now, obviously like this is still super early. Like it seems like they have faith in those 2 Johnsons, and so yeah, I just think that David Johnson, you could argue that he could become like he's going to be the starter, and I think he can be the RB1 there. Like I think he could give you he has the ability to get enough rushing attempts to be up there with like these guys who are entire offenses.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
volume
based.
wise.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think he's lost a step physically.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen it, but
Yeah.
I can't argue with the point of Carlos had 245 carries last year.
Yeah.
Only 2 games under 10 carries total. 16 targets, 10 receptions. Even if he has lost a step, David Johnson's still a way better receiver at this age in his career.
he's a better running back.
Yeah,
for sure.
And so I think he's a value too. I think where you're getting him, I think he's going RB.
What is he like?
It's-
6 rounds.
It's at 608 is
I was
the
gonna say
ADP.
that's about right. 6 rounds.
So like
I
I
mean-
mean you're drafting a guy who could possibly be an RB1.
I mean,
like a high end.
yeah.
I mean, just volume wise, he has the ability to do it. He just has a higher ceiling, and for that draft price, you know.
I mean, yeah, like it doesn't even have to be an RB1, but I feel like where he's getting drafted, he can outplay his ADP though. Like he can easily be a top 15 running back.
Right.
But in the 6th round, that can win you a league though.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because he
Yeah.
can be a RB2 high in 1 in the 6th
It's like
round.
because you were drafting Lamar Miller a couple years ago in like the 2nd round, and you know I would rather have a David Johnson in the 6th round on a team that you
Similar.
could argue, yeah.
100%.
better.
100%.
He's going as our. They have him as the 49 overall in consensus fantasy pros ranking, so that's more like late fourth, late fourth, fifth probably. Let's just say fifth. But even then, it's like he does carry some injury risk, but it's like I'm not burning a top pick on him, so it's like. If I'm gonna get 16 at someone is it gonna be sexy? No. Well, I draft him. I don't know because I shoot to lead the league in scoring, so I don't mind if I miss on some players in that round and end up, swinging and missing. But if I do draft him, I know I'm gonna have a guy when he's on the field. I'm getting 15 carries a game, possibly another 2-3 receptions to go back to standard versus PPR. Let's just say he doesn't get a huge target share, but if he's getting me 270 carries, I mean in a standard league you can't beat that week in and week out. And then with the receptions too. So I just like I said, I think he's a really good value at that point. You're going to be taking some chances at some guys around that point, but you're going to get a steady week in and week out starter there.
If you're listening now and you're like, damn, Anthony really likes David Johnson as well. He was also going to pick David Johnson, I think, before.
Well, I was either Miles Sanders or David Johnson. I was like, all right, who do I?
Somebody has to talk about Miles Sanders.
So Mike,
sure.
I don't mean to do this. It just happens to be like where I catch the eye, but. Would you rather have David Johnson or James Conner? I know last time I just put a Steeler on you. I did it again. But they're so similar. But they're so similar. I'm testing your homerness.
They're right next to each other.
I mean, not
ADP?
right next. Connor's 60 and this fool's 49. But I mean, the running backs in between them are Mark Ingram and David Montgomery and Le'Veon Bell.
Out of those, I might take like David Montgomery, to be honest.
Over all of them?
Over these guys, but I probably I honestly, I think that like the Steelers kind of they do have a couple different relevant running backs as of late. So I don't know how I feel about James Conner, and especially after we drafted Anthony McFarland too. I think he's going to be kind of like a low key sleeper. So I would take David Johnson over James Conner. I know that's like Steelers hyping the new guy that we drafted, the new shiny toy, but. Yeah. I don't know. I
mean, here's some guys right in front of him. I'll give you 3 names. Where it's because I could see myself, going with him over one of these guys. You got Leonard Fournette, Melvin Gordon, and Jonathan Taylor.
I would take.
Over David Johnson.
Yeah,
I would take
David Johnson.
Who would you take over David Johnson?
I would take David Johnson.
I would take
overall.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't do Fournette because his own team doesn't want him.
Yeah, that's why I like Fournette.
But they're gonna have to utilize him though.
I'm sorry.
Then they
Taylor,
just signed Chris Thompson to the Jaguars too. So
yeah, but he's the only reason that is alarming, or not alarming, but good, is that Jake Gruden was with him over there
in Washington.
But dude, he's 29 years old and he's had like 30 injuries, and he's so little. Know. But I mean, Fournette, yeah, if he's there,
I liked Fournette.
I like Jonathan. I take Jonathan Taylor. That old line with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely take him over Fournette. Just the volume, I think it's going to be higher on a better offense too. Or at least we think so. I take him over Fournette. I take him over Melvin Gordon because I think Melvin Gordon's going to have games where he's going to be. It could be an Eckler week some weeks.
Phillip Lindsay week.
Phillip Lindsay.
I know what you meant.
So yeah, they remind me of each other. Could be an Eckler week one week where Eckler just goes out there and balls
Phillip
out.
Lindsay.
God damn it. He has got Austin Eckler now. He's officially been changed, morphed into Eckler. I almost said it again. Phillip Lindsay. You get the fucking point.
Just
Phillip
say
Lindsay
Eckler 3 times to get it out.
Whatever gets it out, though.
Yeah. That little dude who's fast and light-skinned, bro.
Light-skinned cat.
Yeah, that light-skinned cat. Yeah, he might have some games where it's like David Johnson's going to have consistent week in and week out. Jonathan Taylor is a tough one because I love the upside.
Yeah.
I think he could potentially be that rookie who could sneak you into the top 15, 12, even potentially. That Nyheim Hines, like I said, his catching upside worries me. So this might come down to more of a standard versus PPR. In a standard, I think I'll take Jonathan Taylor on the upside. Full PPR, I think I might even still go. Taylor might be the one guy I take over him because the upside's unknown.
Yeah,
I would go him over the other two.
Yeah. I was telling my boy, just like for Miles Sanders last year, when you take him, because sometimes people, when you talk to people about taking a player, they think you mean like immediate impact. So like last year, I was like, no, like Miles Sanders, just like Jonathan Taylor, I feel like are one of those players where like you take them knowing like, all right, let me wait till like, well, first I would check their bye, hopefully it's like a week 5, and then be like, you know what, I feel like if I get Taylor and I need him to pop out like week 6 or 7. Like sometimes you want to take players and wait. Like Miles Sanders wasn't good until week 5. He's one of those guys like let him just show that he's better than Marlon Mack. Like let him get his reps, let him go, and then eventually he's gonna pop off.
Yeah, Taylor might
and
someone.
then he can help you win it later on. You don't need an immediate impact out of like those kind of guys.
He might be someone who's your flex, even
Yeah.
though you're drafting him not
Exactly.
to be the flex, but you're drafting him based off of built-in upside. So it's like he might start off as a flex play because he's not getting that. I can tell you right now, just knowing what I know at rookies, he's not going to get the full workload to start the
Yeah,
first
or whoever
2.
else you drafted in front of
Yeah.
your team. Like you could have 2 stud running backs, so where you don't need him to perform.
Yeah, but could he get that workload by week 4, 5, 6? Yes, but it's not going to happen in those first 2-3 weeks. But there is, he might just take that, basically push Marlon Mack to the side.
Or like Singletary, same thing. you know?
Coaches do have to say to some extent that hey, we still. But I mean, if he's not, if it's night and day, you got to win games at this point too.
Yeah,
and
For
you have a
sure.
short
Well, yeah,
window.
they're in the
You have a
Super Bowl or bust kind of mode. Over
Yeah,
there
you
after
have
getting Phillip Rivers.
Yeah,
and
if you're
stuff
getting
like
Phillip Rivers. So, like I said, there's a lot of built-in upside to Taylor. So,
And draft stock. They took him fucking early second.
Yeah.
Like early second. So-
Part of me thinks that it could be like a Marlon Mack, Jonathan Taylor, like just 1-2.
Oh, it will be until
yeah.
Jonathan. I mean, dude ran a 4.3 at 228 pounds. Like Marlon Mack's.
I mean, you can run a 4.7 behind the line. You'd be all right.
Yeah,
No
for sure.
landscape.
And don't even incorporate like game speed or a wide open hole where Jonathan
Yeah.
Taylor just runs through. Like, but I like Marlon Mack. It's weird because he is productive. I've never owned him ever, but I feel
had
like
him in,
every time
I had him in like 3 or 4 leagues
I
last
will
year.
s-
He's had some bust games. Like he'll give you a
Yeah, he
game where he
does.
puts up, but then he'll have some games where he gets like 17
The
carries
first-
for 30 yards. And
it's
you're
in-
like, how the fuck did you?
I feel like every time he murders me, like 27 for like 150 and 2 touchdowns, and I'm like, what the fuck? Every time, every time.
Yeah, I mean, he's an above average back.
With
Yeah,
AMAC,
they
because I know
draft
this
better.
one takes him.
Yeah, I mean, for me with David Johnson at least, I think he'll be a good serviceable RB too. Like I think he'll be a guy with like a safe floor week in and week out, like a guy who's like he's never gonna cost, you're never gonna be like I fucking lost because David Johnson.
But he'll win you one.
ate dog shit for me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and like Lamar Miller, those 3 years there, RB 18, RB 16, RB 22 that year. He got hurt and he missed 3 games actually, so
Still
not a
good.
full 16 game season. But I mean, Lamar Miller just basically like an RB 2 for your team.
Yeah.
and like
And
I said,
he was-
high 240 rushes, 1,000 yards. I mean, if he could do that. I'm not sure Duke Johnson gets utilized as much as compared to last year with Carlos Hyde. I think you kind of morph those guys, Super Saiyan fuse them together, and that's basically what David Johnson is going to bring to the table. And Duke Johnson will have his
Hey,
plays here and there.
I
but
got you. Like it's like having a wife that cooks and then one that cleans. And then now you got David Johnson who cooks and cleans. We're like, Duke Johnson, we don't need you. He does both. He cooks and he cleans and he
It's a
does
weird
the
analogy,
laundry.
but all right.
And he is.
But it's true.
He's a
Trey's
really
like, I can never get one that does both.
He's a really risk adverse player, which is like everyone plays fantasy football different. Like I said, I swing to lead the leagues in scoring because to me, there's what the
That's-
fuck's the point of playing the game?
I'm
here to
I
win.
Agree. I agree. 100%.
I'm here to be number
Points.
one.
You should at least make the playoffs. If you
So that's my goal. But like I said, we just talked about how Melvin Gordon has light skin behind him that could potentially give him some risky games. Jonathan Taylor does come with some risk. Marlon Mack might not go away this year. We want it to, but there's a chance it might not. And Naheem Hines might be a pain in the ass. And these, like I said, you're getting some risks there. Leonard Fournette, we talked about, possible regression, and then the what's his name, Chris Thompson.
Yeah.
Could he eat into a huge passing workload? I think so, potentially. So, but with David Johnson, I think you just have a safe play. So it's one of those, for people listening, is like I don't want to mess around and take any chances. I want to just get the guy who I know is going to be good week in and week out. That's where I think you go. All right, screw it. I want that solid pick.
Yeah. And at worst, I mean, we're in a keeper league, so even if because Marlon Mack's a free agent after this year. I mean, do they re-sign him after getting Taylor? Who knows? But
Probably not.
Probably not. So even in our league, he'd be someone that you might want to take and then keep for the next year because if they do get rid of him, his stock immediately rises.
Who, Jonathan Taylor?
Yeah,
or David
tenfolds. Even if Marlon Mack has a great year this year and goes somewhere else, they go with Jonathan Taylor. He's going to be the guy the next year. So at worst, I mean, whatever league you're in, but
Yeah, you're just speaking to the point if like you have Jonathan Taylor in your league and you're a keeper, like you can build that stock in.
yeah, exactly. So because I know you took somebody a couple years ago, like with your last pick, and who was it? It was like a good ass. Like he like didn't play, but you're like if he comes back next year,
Guys.
Oh, guys.
oh Darius guys, yeah, like same thing where it's like I don't mind sitting on him because next year he's gonna be way higher. So
Did that
something
work?
to keep in mind. No, because he got hurt again.
I mean, I know. I knew the answer. I was just being a dick.
No, that was good though. That was good. that was the one though.
Trey's like, yeah, you could do this. That didn't work.
But I mean, it's
totally
a
do
good
that.
strategy though.
No, it
dude.
is. It is. I'm just shitting.
No, but it is funny that he has one more chance. Speaking of guys, they're giving him one more shot, and then
Is that it?
Yeah, that's everything. I think.
it.
Did everybody did their running backs, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
we
Cool.
don't have like an honorable mention crush because we don't share our crushes. So
Yeah. I mean, I don't give a fuck.
I love Ray. I just can't think of another one off the top of my head. Fuck it.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Let's
all we.
see.
That's
I
all
feel like
she
we share
wrote.
Miles Sanders a little bit.
Yeah.
Well,
no, yeah.
And I was gonna do Robert Woods. Remember I was
Yeah.
thinking that. So.
I mean-
I think we across the board we all like these players
Yeah.
Yeah.
that we went across.
So what do we-
You know what I'm saying? Obviously,
Yeah.
some a little bit more than others, but I think if we all ended up with these players on our team, we would be happy with having them
Yeah.
on our fantasy team.
We're not sitting here across the table.
These are just guys that like we're telling you like, hey, we like them and we're gonna be targeting them in our drafts personally. So you should probably be trying to target these guys as well because we think these players are gonna put up some points for you during fantasy season.
And remember, and watch when all 8 do good. Right?
You put up super
Oh,
poopers?
dude.
there we go.
Well,
That's my boy.
You know, it's like you said the other day that when Dre's
Poopers when I'm quiet. You
Yeah.
gotta oh, look at that. That shit says noticias, breaking news. Look at that. Bam.
I'm like, I know we
Pop
lose
it.
Drake because Drake gets on his phone and he starts looking at butts, and I just look over. and I
That's
see
not
his
the
phone.
thing. I'll scroll and like, listen, man.
We run a
probably.
He's like, the
professional.
butts are looking at me. I'm not looking at them.
Sometimes
so.
I literally Googled Nick Chubb stats and they're like, you know what gives you a Chubb? Butts. And I'm like, that's not what I was looking for. I was looking for Nick Chubb stats.
If you don't have your team name as the Super Poopers in our dynasty league, get that to me.
The super,
bro.
the super poopers.
That's
It's
so
gotta
funny.
be.
What's up with that dude?
I don't know
It's on-
that.
I saw-
Is that a dude?
Nobody
Sims.
can. By the way, nobody can see this on
Oh,
YouTube.
okay.
Don't worry.
It's all good. It's all good.
All right.
So what
Well,
do we got for Thursday? What do we?
we're gonna do the Super Pooper episode and then
Yeah.
live stream. Nah. So Thursday we're gonna do a. If you're still listening here, but Thursday we're doing a full mock draft live stream. We did a dynasty mock draft for just the rookies, but this is just gonna be a full on mock draft. We're gonna do it live Thursday at 7 p.m. Every Thursday we're doing this.
So
live
here's.
anyways.
Did you guys? Are we gonna do a 12-team?
Yeah, probably just like a 12-team, like half point
12 team,
PPR.
yeah,
PPR.
Not
format.
dynasty startup, right?
No,
No,
just
no.
full,
Just
like
a
full,
regular
like hey,
like a redraft.
it's August
Okay.
22nd and we're ready to go.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. We'll get some
Just
guys.
early, way too early mock draft, basically.
All right. So
Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. If you're on the Apple Podcast app right now, go ahead and leave us a review and give us a rating of 5 stars, man. We appreciate it every time you guys do that. So, yeah. Follow us on Instagram if you want any type of advice for your team, or if you're about to do like a dynasty startup draft, hit us up. We'll be able to help you with the draft. Dre will probably respond to you if you're in a dynasty league. He's kind of our expert on that. And yeah, if you have any other questions or just thoughts or things you're curious on our thoughts on things, go ahead and just give us a message on Instagram or on Twitter. All these links are listed down below in whether it's listening to the audio or on YouTube listening to the video. These are all listed down below. But yeah, anything else you guys want to add before we go?
yeah. Hit us up if you agree or if you disagree.
Yeah,
We ain't got nothing but time.
we
We'll go out there and talk some bread.
Yep. We ain't got nothing but time, though, Daddy.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you, and we are
Oh shit.
out.
Bye, Gina.
Bye.